Good evening, everybody. David Hall here in the KHOU 11 Weather Center. It is a Monday night. It is 8 o'clock. We're in the middle of hurricane season. In fact, we're at the peak time of hurricane season. This is your nightly tropical update at 8 o'clock every night right here on Plus and on our digital platforms. So again, here we are September the 15th. Peak is September 10th. We are in the absolute heart of the Atlantic Basin hurricane season. The Atlantic Basin is the open Atlantic, the Caribbean, and the Gulf. All combined. And so this is the time of year when you expect to see development, and really you can get it anywhere this time of the year. The Gulf's open for business, the Caribbean, the East Coast, the main development region out in the open Atlantic is open. Sea surface temperatures and the ocean heat content is all there at this time of the year to support the tropics. Forecast from Colorado State, once again, their mid-season forecast, 16 named storms. Normal is 14, so they're forecasting a slightly above average season. NOAA is in the ballpark with the same numbers. 8 hurricanes forecast, normal is 7. 3 major hurricanes forecast, normal is 3. Now, so far we've had 1 hurricane, and that 1 hurricane became a major hurricane. So we're on the board with 1 for 8 and 1 for 3, but we're behind, and we are significantly behind in normal activity for this time of the year. We're more than 30% below normal to date for this hurricane season in the Atlantic Basin, and then we're more than that behind if you take into account a forecast that was forecasting a busier than normal season. But we have the entire second half of the season to go. Again, we've had Andrea, Barry, Chantal, Dexter, Fernand. Those were all short-lived, very weak tropical storms. Aaron is the outlier. It was the 5th storm of the season, and it became a Cat 5 hurricane. It missed all land masses. The eye did not cross a landmass, which was very lucky for all of us, because it could have been a very devastating hurricane were it to have hit the Caribbean islands or a direct hit on Bermuda, but that did not happen. So far, below normal season, about 30% below normal, and we've been kind of lucky. We'll take it. Ocean heat content. This takes into the account the skin surface temperature of the ocean surface and how deep that warmth goes. And that is because when you get a strong hurricane moving over the ocean surface, it doesn't just take energy from the surface of the ocean. It will upwell from hundreds of feet down below. It'll upwell that water. So that's why we need to know how warm the water is below the surface to know the total amount of heat energy available for a system moving into that part of the ocean. Right now, it's the Western Caribbean that has the highest ocean heat content. So were a storm to get in here and other conditions were correct, it could develop into a big hurricane. But at the moment, there's nothing there to feed on that heat. As far as the actual sea surface temperature, the skin surface of the ocean, it's very warm in the Gulf, 87. Western Caribbean skin surface, 85. 85 south of San Juan, 84 in the east of the islands, 82 out here. This is your main development region this time of the year, and that is where we are watching a tropical wave that has the potential to develop. In fact, there are 3 active waves on the board tonight. Nothing in the Gulf. This one is in the Eastern Caribbean, wave number 1 right here. No activity with that at all, not expected to develop any. Wave number 2 is here, no activity with that one. Here is wave number 3 right there, and you can see just on the western side of that trough axis, we've got quite a cluster of rain and thunder showers. If you squint, maybe you can see a little bit of a low trying to get going. What we actually have here is an open wave right now. So it tries to curl around, but it can't curl around. So we have an open wave. Once that closes off, that would be declared a depression. Hurricane Center says it has a 90% of closing off a surface low and becoming our next tropical depression or tropical storm. Gabrielle is the next name on the list. And at the moment, when we look at the tropical outlook, that is the only spot in play. Nothing in the Caribbean, nothing in the Gulf. So again, it's a day where there's nothing knocking on our door, but come back and check tomorrow, because this time of the year, things can change overnight, literally overnight in the tropics. So this spot, 90% chance for development. You can see that they expect what there is of this to, in general, move northwest. That would be very good for we here in Houston, because if we're going to get a system like that into the Houston area, it's got to get into the Gulf first. And the easiest track for that is through the Caribbean and through the Yucatan Channel. Now, there have been storms that have come up in here, taken a dive through the Florida Straits and gotten into the Gulf. Hurricane Ike was one that did that back in back in '05. But this one does not look like it is destined to do that. Once again, tropical wave. It is an invest. Winds at 30. Moving west at 15. Still an open wave, but an invest 92, a 92L. What that means is they can start running tropical models on it. And so we do have the first suite of spaghetti plots coming up off 92L. And you can see it's a northwest track that the model suites are suggesting is going to happen. That keeps it out of the Caribbean, out of the Gulf, away from the Bahamas, and in general away from the United States. We can look at the GFS and the Euro run simultaneously. Take this into Friday of the week, and both models develop a storm. The American develops it here, the Euro develops it here, very similar solution. And then they do a very similar thing, take it northwest. North of the islands, at this point, the storm is already beginning to turn north, and eventually we think northeast. So both models pull the storm north and keep it away from the United States, and they probably turn it soon enough to keep it away from the island of Bermuda. So it may be another system where, regardless of intensity, it doesn't make landfall. There is dust. That could be a factor in the intensity of the system or how quickly or slowly it develops. We'll keep an eye on that. Last week we had a system that had a 90% chance for development, had too much dust surrounding it. It piddled out and never did develop. So dust can have a big impact on things. But going through now through Monday, there's dust out here, but it's not an overwhelming amount of dust. So I think this wave does have a good chance of becoming Gabrielle. Tuesday here in Houston, hot and humid. Summer continues. We're under a dome of high pressure. So this September weather is more like August weather right now. Highs of 94 is about 4 degrees above normal. 20% chance for a scatter shower on Tuesday, and it just goes on and on and on. 94, 94, 95, 93, 94, 93 through the weekend. Slight chance for a scattered shower each afternoon. No significant changes of any type on the board for the next 7 days. All right, that's where we stand. Next live update on KHOU 11 News at 10 o'clock or live at 10. We'll see you then for our next live broadcast.